Hey guys, number one Marmaduke fan here, and I just read Thrashers issue number 1 and 2. I got Thrashers because an artist I like, Illustrator Monk, was really like promoting it hard, and he actually offered like full scale original illustrations for people who backed the book at a certain tier. And I liked Illustrator Monk, so I gave this a shot. So props for like a really good artist friend helping this book out. So like the elephant in the room is I don't know any of the creative people involved in this project, and I'm kind of not the target audience, but I kind of respect where this is coming from. This is kind of tying into like the underground rock and roll or heavy metal comics scene, where I think like especially in like the good old boomer days of like the 1970s, a lot of underground comics were connected with like like the punk rock or heavy metal scenes. What's kind of interesting about it is like it was sort of like the way to be a cool nerd, I guess. Like there would be metal bands formed around Tolkien, right? So punk rock / heavy metal thrashers basically had their own little comics culture. It was always like really grungy, seedy, and I don't know, kind of what would it be? It's not squeaky clean Marvel and DC. So the artists change in this book. So the story is by Michael Johnstone, and the art for issue 1 is by Jose Perez, and the colors by Rodrigo Ibanez, who's also a comic creator in his own right. And I feel like the art team for this, they kind of capture a grungy feel. And then for the second issue, the art has changed. So the art for the second issue is Nico Valdez, and Nico's art is a little bit cleaner and nicer. And I just feel like for kind of like the heavy metal rock and roll feel, I want to get the artist again. Jose kind of fits with what that is. I almost want this printed on like cheap, grimy, like newsprint or something, right? With like printer errors and everything. It's nice. It's nice paper, but basically what I'm saying is this fits into like a kind of fun, underground, funky outsider vibe, and the first issue really worked for me on that level. So let me point to a couple little art details that make it work. So heavy black lines, surprising amount of detail, and there's a few pages later on that I want to showcase before I start talking about the story. So this really the rock and rollers are getting chased by aliens, and it like zooms in, and as it zooms in, it shows you kind of like more and more details of his face. So his face isn't like idealized in like a cartoony style to make him look more handsome. It's grungy, right? Like you see the hairs on his face, you see the scratches, you see the detail around his eye as he sees the fire above him, right? So that I think really works with the tone of what's going on rock and roll wise. And then I'll show you a couple examples of Nico, like kind of like nice fun expressions for this set of characters, cleaner line art. So what the image I have is, if you want to go for this look, you should almost not be using digital materials unless it's for cleanup. And I kind of have a similar experience with that, where I use traditional materials and then I transition into digital for the cleanup. And I try on purpose to eliminate the digital look that digital brushes give everything. So maybe you can download like a digital brush that imitates a traditional thing, but the eye is really, really good at picking up those details. So what I do is I do the color, and then I come in and erase, and I do another layer on top of that, and that basically like breaks up the repeating digital effect of it. You should almost be drawing these on like a greasy napkin to get like maximum amount of grunge potential out of it. And I think that Jose's art really naturally fits with that vibe. Okay, now that I've kind of made that, I guess, commentary on the art, let me talk about the story a bit. So we have a cast of 12 characters. We meet the first 6 going to a concert called Celtica. So I'm guessing that's sort of like a portmanteau of Celtic rock and Metallica. And Mikey, the white guy, I don't know, he's like a little uncomfortable coming out of his shell. You get the feeling that he's just starting to like make his move on this pretty girl D. And Carlos is a little bit more easy and sure of himself, kind of like he's like joking around. Oh, just be yourself. Nah, never mind. That sucks. Be someone different, right? So these are the 2 main guys. The 2 main ladies are Maria and D, and they're going to a concert. These guys, they haven't made much of an impression on me yet. Their names are Brian and Rocky, and they seem to be kind of... I have a sneaky feeling that, like, they're going to be like the red shirts who get killed by the aliens. I don't know yet. But they kind of like, when the aliens show up, they freak out a little bit and aren't handling it as well. And Carlos and Mikey kind of like rise to the occasion, and they get the girls out of there. It's really fun because it just feels like authentic, like, oh, aliens, shoot, I'm going to run away. I'm not going to stay here and fight them all heroically. And ends with them thinking they're safe and getting blown up again. Okay, this kind of imagery is great too. Like, really emphasize like the rock element of it and bring that out. I also kind of like how it's a funky old school UFO design for the aliens. In issue 2, we finally get to see the aliens themselves, and we meet a new cast of characters who are at an army depot. And, they're kind of like teasing each other. A couple guys just want to get off and get their R&R, and then the world blows up, and they've got to go into action too. So I have a feeling our two casts of characters are going to be meeting really soon. And it wraps up with a nice big reveal of the alien bursting through. Now here's where it's like a really clean image, like great musculature on the alien. Where grunge comes in is grunge is the overall look of a thing. It's almost texture. And texture is kind of like the last thing you should worry about in drawing. So let me find like an example. All right. So you're drawing like Deku here, right? Just grabbed it. So form is what you look at first. What is the shape? Does he have big arms or skinny arms? Like that kind of stuff. Like what is the shape of the actual guy like? And then texture would be zooming in saying, oh, he's got little wrinkles on his pants, right? And you don't want to worry about those little wrinkles until you figured out the form. So what I'm saying is that this is actually like a really good structural drawing in terms of the alien looking big and imposing. And now I want some like, I don't know, like extra, like dust kicking out all over the place. Big chunks of rock. How about little chunks of rock like flying all over the place and filling the screen? Motion lines showing like the direction the rocks are flying. And that's where, if you're using traditional materials, you can go like crazy and like splatter some ink over here and flick some ink over there, scratch into it with your finger, do all kinds of crazy stuff that might not occur to you if you're working digitally. So it's a good funky. I want to get this artist's name again. So I think that Nico Valdez's art is also a good fit for the story matter. They're pretty consistent with one another, but there's a different enough vibe that I feel like I was resonating more with how Jose Pare's art fit with it. Maybe a good thing for the writer to do would be, if you're going to have to change up the artist, maybe change it up so significantly that, I don't know, it's like, the audience becomes aware of it as a thing. Like it could be, oh, here's the rock and rollers perspective on it, and that's like super grungy. And then here's like the military's perspective on it, and it's a lot cleaner and more formal and organized, right? Like you could exaggerate the art differences if you don't have two artists whose styles completely gel with one another. So if you like kind of like the rock and roll thrashing scene, I think this would be right up your alley. I enjoyed it, even though I'm not like the biggest rock and roll metalhead, go to the concert kind of guy. And I'm interested to see what direction this is going. Other quibbles, I once in a while noticed maybe like a word or a line that was awkward, like maybe the ink on the printer was getting a little out of place. Like here you can kind of see like a little jagged edge on that, but I only noticed that a couple times. So the print quality and paper quality is good, and I don't know. So far, it's a fun little group of guys who go to a concert and aliens attack, and they got to survive the aliens. So I've gotten little hints of some of the characters' personalities, especially like the main two guys. I want to know more about them, and this is where kind of like in the little dialogue moments, anything you can do to like highlight this guy is a nerd, this girl is uptight, right? Any line you give them that can emphasize that, just keep emphasizing that to help them pop a bit. All right, so Thrashers, I didn't know I was getting into. I really enjoyed it. I will find their social media so you can check them out. And I think this would be a great pickup for anyone who's into the concert scene. With that, I'm number one Marmaduke fan. I love you guys, and we don't need no stinking 10-minute videos on this channel. I'll catch you later.